Thank you all for having me. Today I'm going to present about our Business Objects 4.2 to 4.3 upgrade experience. We have had a lot of support from Paul Grill and team, so I'll talk you through all the stuff that we did. What Roxanne talked about, I have no idea how to do. I used to develop BO reports before, but that's not my skill set anymore. I'm more the administrator, so we manage the infrastructure. So what I'm talking about is more servers, installation, how we went through the migration, things of that nature. So with that, so high level goals, obviously we were on 4.2 SP8, looking to move to 4.3 SP2. When we first started out, patch 5 was out. By the end of the project, we were on patch 8. We had 8 business objects instances spread across 2 different regions of the world. We had North America, and then we had Asia Pacific. And as part of our BO upgrade, we wanted to create 2 more instances, all of them live on 4.3 SP2. One of the big goals that I've always had with our business objects environment, we keep building documents and universes in our repositories, and we never clean up. I keep sending emails to users to letting them know they are not using certain reports and nobody ever cleans up. So by the time we started this project, we had close to 50,000 documents in one instance, 80,000 another instance. So one of the biggest goals that we had was clean up our repository. No universes that we are not using anymore. No reports that are not being run anymore. We also used a version manager product. I'm hoping everybody knows version manager. It's our versioning control tool for business objects. We publish everything through universes and reports through version manager. So there also, we have a repository of things that we have built since our 6.1, 6.2 days. So that database grew from what was about 2 gigs to about 70, 80 gigs. So that was a large database that we really needed to clean up. Similarly, we were InfoBurst customers as well. We use a lot of bursts, both in our North America as well as Asia Pacific region. We had a whole bunch of bursts that were never being used, documents that were cataloged that were not part of burst. So cleanup was one of our huge goals. And Freeport is a large organization. We are a copper mining firm. We have a combination of on-prem infrastructure and cloud infrastructure. We are an Azure organization. So any opportunity we get to move from our on-prem servers over to the cloud, we definitely want to take advantage of it where feasible. In our Asia Pacific region, our network is not so good, so we may have to rely on some on-prem systems to help the users with performance and latency and so on. And obviously, when we upgrade to business objects, we also want to do the InfoBurst upgrade and the version manager upgrade. We also use 360 in our organization, so we will include a 360 view upgrade. And we were always on Windows authentication for our business objects. So one of our goals was, how do we modernize authentication into business objects? So our goal is to get into SAML for authentication. So what decisions did we take to support this goal of ours, right? We were doing an upgrade in the 4th quarter, not necessarily the best time of the year to do any upgrade, but we chose to because life in Freeport is never dull. So we want to keep things interesting. So we chose to do a BO upgrade in the 4th quarter. So the first key decision was using 360 Eyes. 360 Eyes is a tool from our partner called Wisdom, licensed for us through InfoSol. And the important thing that 360 Eyes did for us was help us figure out which of our reports were being used and which of our reports were not being used. We have an audit database that we source into our Snowflake data warehouse environment. So we knew which reports were being run, but what we didn't have was the list of all reports that actually existed in the system. So 360 Eyes was super important there. So one of our earliest decisions was to use 360 Eyes for just a temporary period, start documenting our BO instance, all of our BO instances. So we know how many are there. We know thousands are running, but how many are there out there that we are not running? We also realized, because we have 360 Eyes, that there were a huge volume of reports in personal and, sorry about that, in personal folders and work group folders. Work group folders are public folders, but we allow people to collaborate in work group folders. So somebody develops a report and the rest of the team takes advantage of the more complex reports that our experts build. So like I said, we had about 80,000 documents in one of our instances. So that was just unsustainable for migration purposes. The last upgrade we did, we were at 50,000 and we had to do the upgrade about 3 times to move everything over to the new environment. So the way we wanted to do this, the key decision was take a list of all the documents, identify those that are not being used and mark them for deletion. And when we mark them for deletion, we say this report is not going to be migrated to the next business objects environment. And then people get to rename the documents or undo the naming change. So they can let us know by way of name changes, what they want to retain, what they are okay to move to 4.3. Again, we have historic content in version manager InfoBurst. We need to get rid, we need to delete, archive, eliminate. Because we were doing it in the fourth quarter, one of the important things was to minimize the risk to our business. We don't want to impact month end, quarter end, year end. So we decided since 8 BO instances were not enough, we were going to create 8 more in BO 4.3. So we were going to have fully parallel environments for dev, test, and prod for as long as it took to satisfy the business, make them comfortable with the 4.3 environment. One of the things that I'm also mentioning further down is we were adopting Fiori for the first time. And so we knew that the business needed some time to be comfortable with the UI. So that was the reason for adding a second parallel environment. And throughout, we needed to ensure that the users were aware of the upcoming business objects upgrade. So we have to work with our corporate communications to keep sending emails saying, it's coming, this is next, what's coming next. So that continuous communication was very important. And our corporate communications team did a very good job of helping us format the right content with the right level of summary and detail. Not too much, not too little, just enough, just the right sizing of information. So that was a key decision. The other thing that we always do when we do an upgrade is we do our test system first, because that's our least used system. And the way we do it is when we do upgrades, we cannot tell people no more development in 4.2. Life continues on as usual while we try to change the carpet and the flooring and everything else while people are working on continuous development and our ongoing projects. So we do our test system first. That way, anybody who is developing in 4.2 can continue to publish their changes to the production system and bypass test for as long as test is in flux. And then we do the production and then we go over to dev. The other reason being, if you start developing in 4.3, you can't implement in 4.2. So those are technical reasons why we don't want to do dev first. We go prod first and then dev. And then, like I said, no freezing of work or no freeze of implementation during the upgrade. The other key decision that we had to make, and this was something that dawned on us, not right off the bat, but something that we got more clarity on, was the WIP environment. So when version manager got upgraded, we had to switch over to WIP. And WIP is a web-based application tool. And we had to switch over to 2 WIP installations, right? One for the current BO 4.2 and a new WIP for the BO 4.3 environment. And the reason we had to do that was WIP for 4.2 would only work with 4.2 client, and WIP for 4.3 would only work with a 4.3 BO client. So 2 WIP environments. And then one key decision we took was no UNX migration. We are still using UNV universes for all of our business objects universes. So we said out of scope was going to be a UNX conversion. We know that's a timeline ticking for us that we need to convert, but that was not going to be part of our BO upgrade. So a quick view of our infrastructure. Not sure how visible this screen is. The items in red were going to go away. This was our 4.2 environment. And the items in green were our new system. So in our North America environment, if you see, we had a whole bunch of on-prem servers for InfoBurst and business objects. And then we were migrating the entire thing over to the Freeport Azure environment. We have a IaaS instance of all of our business object servers. So we were going to move everything over to the cloud. And then similarly in our non-prod, we were going to be in our Azure, Freeport Azure subscription. And most of the details is regarding which BO instance was going away and which new systems were being put in place for the ones that we were going to get rid of. A unique thing about the way we license our business objects, we have two sets of licenses. We have a named user license and a CPU-based license. Most of our users just go directly to the CPU-based license, and we allow people to access business objects without requesting access to business objects. But our named user licenses for our more advanced users, the ones who can develop BO reports, who get training to do BO report development using Webby, they get access to Webby Power, what we call the Power environment, and then they get to share their work product with the rest of the team who don't do BO development. So we have to have two production systems in both North America and our Asia Pacific. The good thing about North America moving over to the cloud, because most of our universes are pointed to Snowflake, which is also on Freeport Azure, the moving over to the cloud helps us get some of the performance benefit of being on the same Azure backbone. All right. And then this is our Asia Pacific instance. If you see on the North America, we had hosted a lot of our new servers in the Freeport Azure, but for our Asia Pacific system, because our data warehouse resides on an on-prem Teradata system, we chose to keep all of our business objects and related software or application servers on-prem in the Asia Pacific region. It doesn't change the makeup of the servers, it just changes the location of the servers. We still control the servers, administer the servers, patch the servers, and so on. And the other unique thing, we had to add 2 more instances to support our DR strategy. So we did end up adding 1 new business object server in the Azure cloud that could serve as a disaster recovery server for our North America server. I kind of pause here. So this is the background of what we have, and then I'll walk us through what we did to move us forward. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I have a couple. You didn't freeze everything. You mentioned that, obviously while you were still working on dev, 4.3, people would still continue to do things. But I mean, how did you synchronize when you moved on to QA and production when people were still making changes and developing? Did you give them from now on, you must do it in 4.3, or how did you do that?
We are not there yet. So the way we do it, we develop in 4.2 still, because all of our developers who use our Azure virtual desktop, they still only have the BO 4.2 client. We are in the process of testing the BO 4.3 client, so we still develop in 4.2. We check it into WIP using 4.2 WIP. And then because the backend database is the same database for the WIP, both WIP instances, we can then publish using WIP to both 4.2 and 4.3. That's our way of keeping both systems in sync.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good idea. No, I see it. And then my second question, just out of curiosity, 80,000 reports.
What were we doing all this while, right?
Now, after that exercise, the cleaning exercise, what did you get into?
10%, 15% of what we had before. Yep. Yeah. People would save as and save as and save as, and they have no idea what they were doing. People didn't exist anymore, and we still had documents. Yeah, it was.
So you're under 10,000.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
10,000. Yep. In each of our instances, 10,000 or less. And I hope to continue to keep that and upkeep that, right?
Well,
so
that would be the next question. How do you do that? How do you stop it from growing back up there again?
Good question. So we have 360 view. We have 360 view. So 360 view, Alejandro was nice enough to set us up with jobs where he can download the list of documents in each of our systems into offload it to a location. We'll ingest that into our data warehouse environment where we have both the document now as well as the usage history. And then we can easily write queries to say of these 10,000 documents, only this percentage is being used, and we can adopt the same process of to be deleted on such and such date. We use 360 view to update the name of the document. And then people will know when they look at their inbox or their worker folder that a certain document is going to be deleted on a certain day. And that's how I'm envisioning this to work. So I'm hoping that in the next quarter, we can start to apply some of these things. Absolutely.
One question. What is that version manager all about? Is it an internal tool or something?
It's a tool that we brought from EBI experts. They are the vendors who make it, but we license it through InfoSol, and it helps us keep track of versions of reports. So every change that we have to publish to production, we have to check it in to our version manager tool. And for audit purposes, for backup purposes, for restore purposes, we keep that version. And then when we submit a change ticket for a published report, maybe it's a SOX report, audit report, we say precisely which version needs to be published to a target environment. And so we develop in one place and we publish it to 3 or 4 different BO environments. It's a very powerful tool. We have used it forever. It understands business objects, object structures really well. And we couldn't do without version manager or WIP, what we call WIP today.
Yeah, it creates an entity. Sorry. So, he thinks to me, things like if full data history in such a way that you can see clearly what happened. So it's a fantastic way to track the system. Large companies don't just keep control. So for
Absolutely. Yeah.
I had a quick question. How are your users going to transition to BRA?
So we knew it was a huge change for them. And so we had another good partner helping us with it. Impact 4 is here, Jose is here. He helped us with quick 2-minute videos that says, you used to access a report this way before, here's how you would access it today. You used to run prompts like this before, here's how you do it. Everybody has a 2-minute attention span, we figured, so we'll do quick 2-minute videos and then we'll follow it up with a day-long or a day-and-a-half-long training session as needed by the business. But this was our introduction, right? And then we followed up with office hours. So 3 hours every day, Jose would just be available on a meeting calendar invite, and that invite was sent to everybody who was a BusinessObjects user through MIS communications, and then they could just log in and ask everything from how do I log in to why am I not able to get the report output that I wanted. So he was the eyes and the ears for us to help us know what kind of feedback we were getting back from the business. Yeah.
Yeah, just point. 2-minute attention span actually has a slide. So old French has a 10-second attention span. That's great. So
all right. So yeah, it took a village to bring this together, right? Because we had so much help from external vendors. So I want to actually give a shout out to Alejandro who helped us through the upgrade project. I did not install any software. He knew coming in what he needed to do. My job was to say, here's your server, here's your access, here's the standards and procedures that we follow at Freeport, and he just took to it. The first server was hard because he was coming up to speed with our processes and so on. And from there on, he would install and then he would open it up to the users, confirm that everything was set up the right way. So having a very good partner to work with who's done this multiple times was key for our migration. A lot of the headaches that we had faced in the past implementations, we avoided because we had somebody who had done this before. With our version manager to WIP migration, that was a little bit more complicated for us because we had not migrated to their WIP version ahead of time. So this was our chance to not only migrate to WIP, but also come up to WIP for 4.3. So we had to take a few hops over there. Again, Jabir, our EBI experts, helped us through the exact process. In fact, To convert it from one to the other, we sent him a copy of the database. He cleaned it up over the weekend, and then he sent it back to us on a Sunday night. So by Monday morning, we were up and running on web. So that helped a lot. We wouldn't have been able to do this on our own, right? So, and then 360 eyes was yet another tool we had to use. We used 360 eyes for documenting it, and then we used 360 view for renaming documents that were not being used. And again, so having all of these tools was super helpful for us to do the migration in a way that we envisioned doing it. And then continuous stand-up meetings within the team. So we've met continuously with our security team. We are an extremely process-heavy, secure organization. We are in Azure, so everything needs tickets and approvals and confirmation and architecture review board approvals and so on. So we were continuously meeting. I have to let people know ahead of time this is coming. Do we have the people? Do I have the DBA? Do I have the right resources to help me through the upgrade? So having that kind of collaborative environment was super important. In the beginning, we felt like we had over anticipated how much time the collaboration was going to take, but I don't regret any minute of it, because if we had not done it, we would be a lot farther behind in the project. And then we always use Microsoft Teams for communication. So we were always chatting with each other. We had groups for testing the BO client. We had groups for admin support. We had groups for security support. So everybody knew who was available to help when we ran into problems setting up the server or accessing the servers. Again, we use Microsoft Teams for all documentation. So even as Alejandro is installing software or doing things that he thinks is going to be helpful for us, once he's done with the project, he's already documenting everything. So documentation is not an afterthought. Documentation happens while you're implementing the system itself. Agile, we are a very agile organization. So week over week or every 2 week sprints, we plan what we're going to do the next 2 weeks. So Alejandro knows without having to talk to me on a daily basis what his goals are. And I know without having to talk to him what I need to be ready with the week before, so that when he comes in the next week, he can come in and say, okay, I know these tasks are already done. Delta migration, this was huge for us. So the version manager to web only helped us for the public reports, meaning somebody is approving the migration of the report to production. So we implemented using version manager. But like I said, there are power users who are saving their reports to the 4.2 personal folders, and they're also saving their reports to the worker folder. So again, Alejandro's ability to create these continuous copy jobs, he used 360 view, and he is able to set up jobs that say any report that changed in the 4.2 environment, copy it once a day to the 4.3. So once the initial copy was done, we could continuously keep the 4.3 environment in sync with 4.2. If we don't do that, the 4.3 is going to be out of sync very quickly, and we are still asking people to develop in 4.2. At least the universes, the reports have migrated over to 4.3. So the Delta migration was very, very important for us. The other thing that helped us is we started cloning our servers within an Azure space. It's easy to say, take this server, paste it as something else. That way we avoided the time to install BO, avoided the time it took to shut down Defender while the installation was going on. So we avoided a lot of waiting time for machines. We just said we installed one machine and then we just copied it a number of times to help speed up the installation time that it was taking. And user training for Fiori was very important. That was a huge learning curve. So Jose, Impact4, thank you very much. You're here in person. He helped create a lot of those 2-minute videos that helped people, especially the Launchpad users needed the quick videos, right? The web users, where the bulk of the change was, need a little bit more time. At this point, we have only provided them with those 2-minute videos and office hours, but there is a plan to extend it for a day and a half for people who really want to dig deep into business objects and start building their own BO reports. So we will follow it up with more training as needed, but we felt for the purpose of migration to help support the users who are already power users, that would suffice. And then communications, we used multiple channels of communication. Within the team, we had Microsoft Teams, but outside of it, there was Yammer, and there was help desk notification. Help desk needed to know who to send queries over to. Service management needed to know because we were cutting over large, very visible application over. And then continuous update to executive leadership as well to let them know the state of the project. And anybody who knew was asked to please communicate, please let them know that both 4.2 and 4.3 is available. Switch over to 4.3. Unless we keep reinforcing, it doesn't work. And then at some point you got to say, sorry, the date's approaching, you better switch now, or else next month then you're not going to have it. Last slide, what could have gone better? Like a lot of other companies, we faced some CPU and memory shortages on our on-prem systems, especially on the Asia Pacific region. So we had planned to finish this by Q4, but because of some of those delays and it got too close to year end, so we moved it to first quarter of this year. So the cutover will happen either mid this week or next week. The other feedback that Alejandro had for us was we were trying to do dev test first and prod second and dev third. He said if he had given me all the servers at once, it was easier to have parallelly implemented across all the systems. So that's lesson learned for us for next time. We had a lot of issues with firewall not being enabled between different sources and destinations. We knew going in that security was a big risk. We could have planned better in terms of what communications we needed to open up and what ports we needed to open up between our BO servers and the target environments. We thought we planned to our best ability, but I mean, I guess there's always scope for improvements. And because we are a very distributed team, it's hard to time yourself to match Indonesia time and India time and Phoenix time zones. We also had customers in Europe and South America that we need to keep in mind. So we'll learn from this experience and do better next time. The other feedback that Alejandro had for us was a 360 view that we upgraded. 360 view was also against 4.2, so we upgraded 360 view. His feedback was if we had done that first, then we could have done a lot of the object promotion using 360 view instead of using the standard BO promotion capabilities. Lastly, DNS switching. Our users are used to just saying business objects or BO power or something. And then when we went to 4.3, we added a 43 at the end to show that it was the parallel 4.3 environment. And then finally, when we switched everything around for the users, we had to redo all of our certificates and DNS entries and so on. So one of our learning lessons was we should have just done it all one shot and not have to do a second round of tickets.